This thing called Project 2025, you've probably heard about it by now, but if you haven't, I'll explain as we go. It's just this kind of policy proposition that is absolutely insane, insane. It's like a Christian nationalist 900-page manifesto. Apparently a journalist like infiltrated the whole movement and got a whole bunch of like recordings and materials and stuff. I want to listen to some of this. You know what else? I got the like presentations, the slides from Project 2025's training courses. I have the slides. We're going to take a look at them in a little while. They got the training videos from them, and oh my God, they're weird. Listen to this. This is from ProPublica.
You probably want to do is if you need to resolve something, you're probably better off going down to the canteen, getting a cup of coffee, talking it through and making the decision, as opposed to sending them an email and creating a thread that accountable.us or one of those other groups is going to come back and seek, and you're going to have to explain why you're withholding it, and you're going to fight in court. It's going to be a lot of expense. It's an email that's better resolved with a meeting.
Dude is explaining how to avoid accountability. That is nuts. Of course, they expected this to originally just be within their little group. It's not just within their group now, but those are the types of things that, like, these extremist Christian nationalists talk about when they think no one else is listening. Just nuts, man. Listen to this next one. This is from an undercover journalist that released this. It's a little bit on the longer side, so we're just going to listen.
Two undercover reporters posing as donors are about to meet one of the key architects of Project 2025, the radical plan for Trump's second term.
Donors. They were donors, okay? Or they were posing as donors.
In a hotel suite rigged with hidden cameras.
Nice to meet you. Would you like coffee or something? I'd love coffee, yeah. Great.
Truly surprised they even met him in a hotel, because, like, usually when something is, like, super top secret like this, they'll refuse to meet anywhere but their own office.
Meet Russ Vogt.
Russell Vogt, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget.
He's been called the most dangerous MAGA diehard you've never heard of.
I am opposed to the Department of Education because I think it's the Department of Critical Race Theory.
The Russ Vogt were comrades in arms.
Formerly a cabinet member and chief lieutenant in the first Trump admin.
Whoop! Did you catch that one? He was in the first Trump administration. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? Basically everybody involved in Project 2025, even in the videos that we're about to watch, all of them practically, except maybe one, were in the Trump administration. So Trump can claim he doesn't know what Project 2025 is all he wants. He does, obviously. And you'll see in a second why he said what he said.
I want to thank Russ for doing an incredible job.
He now runs a group called Center for Renewing America,
An organization that I helped turn into the Death Star that is accomplishing all the debates that you are reading about.
Dude, I love when, like, villains compare themselves to movie villains. Like, these people, these Christian nationalists, why'd you pick the Death Star as the thing that you want to be like? Are you serious? It's like that famous film, I don't remember what it was, but, you know, Nazis had like jet black uniforms with like skull emblems on their stuff, and they look over to themselves and they say, are we the baddies? You know, if you're wearing that stuff, maybe you're the bad guy. If you're talking about creating the Death Star, maybe it's you.
I think you have to rehabilitate Christian nationalism. You have the largest deportation in history, block funding for Planned Parenthood. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state.
They don't want to crush it. They want to create the deep state or co-opt it or whatever.
Vogt is one of the key authors of the blueprint for a second Trump administration.
Project 2025.
It's an ambitious 920-page blueprint.
Like eliminating the Department of Education,
the mass firings of civil servants,
Banning access to the abortion pill and further restricting abortion rights.
In recent weeks, the plans have become so controversial that Trump has been forced to distance himself.
They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right.
Yeah, he also tweeted that he knew nothing about it.
And they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25.
Are you ready? I know nothing about Project 25. I haven't seen the document. I don't intend to really see the document.
It's just a lie. Objectively, we know that it is a lie that he's telling right now.
But behind closed doors, the vote tells us not to take Trump's disavowal seriously.
I expect you to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman at Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
He's running against the brand. He is not running against any people.
Okay.
He is not running against any institutions. It's interesting. He's in fact not even opposing himself to a particular policy.
That's true, isn't it? Isn't that this guy's making good points? Fascinating.
He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it from when we're walking into our last day in office and told him what I was going to do.
You catch that? Our last day in office. I told him what we were going to do. Donald Trump knew. He knew. He has known this whole time.
You do. So he's very supportive of what we do.
Our investigation into Project 2025 began 2 weeks before the meeting with Vote at a conference for religious nationalists in D.C.
The truth is, Christian nationalism is not a threat to American democracy. Christian nationalism founded American democracy.
No, it didn't. I remember this. Josh Hawley. This poor fool, man. He was like pumping his fist at the January 6th people and all that right before the riot happened. Isn't he like a Harvard graduate or something? He's not an idiot. And I've seen him use logic, apply it to different situations. I believe Josh Hawley is acting in bad faith. He's doing this intentionally, knowingly, in my opinion. By the way, don't forget, check out my book, owenmorgan.com. It's about Jehovah's Witnesses and their history and my experiences with them. It's pretty interesting stuff. Link in the description if you want to find that.
Journalists from the Center for Climate Reporting have come posing as potential donors, looking to meet those involved in Project 2025. They're not hard to find. The Heritage Foundation, the group running the project, are here. So is Vote's think tank. We make the acquaintance of Mika Meadowcroft, an author on Project 2025 and a close aide to Vote. He tells us that Vote is running the secretive second phase of Project 2025.
The second phase, after the book came out, was...
Wow, so this is Vote's aide. Interesting.
Break down like actual sort of policy packets, executive orders, and agenda items and things like that. And that's been supervised largely.
The first phase of Project 2025 was a 922-page policy book published openly. The second phase is a comprehensive, concrete transition plan for each federal agency.
See, the problem was when Trump got into office, nobody expected him to get into office. Even Trump didn't expect that. He was a mess. He had no idea what he's doing. Dude didn't even seem to know that you had to hire your own staff to work at the White House, which I don't blame him for. I didn't know that stuff either. I've never been in that world before. So what's the Republican Party or what are Republican extremists doing? Writing these plans for him so he doesn't have to. And in return, he will do whatever they want for putting in all the legwork and all of that stuff. He will put in any judge they suggest, they being like the Heritage Foundation or the Project 2025 framers and operators. He'll put in any aid that they want or anything at all. He'll stop aid to He'll stop aid to Ukraine. He'll stop sending aid to anywhere. Doesn't matter. They're saving him so much money, it's ridiculous, by doing all the legwork for him. It's just like the legwork is going to be insane, is all.
These much more detailed plans are confidential.
Yeah. Because obviously you wanted a little of it to be FOIA-able, if you're familiar with the FOIA process.
Freedom of Information Act is that thing that the guy was talking about earlier, the FOIA, that's what that is, where organizations can request records on a specific subject. Like they want to know everything that Donald Trump has said to or about or whatever the Heritage Foundation regarding Project 2025. And they want all the emails. And if it was sent on like a public infrastructure, like a government email or something, they can get that. As a matter of fact, they can get that anyway through certain lawsuits and stuff. So dude is talking about how to avoid accountability through the FOIA process. Don't write it down, basically. Say it face to face like we're doing right now. That's nuts, dude.
A little bit to be FOIA-able. If you're familiar with the FOIA process, as possible. Freedom of
Information Act, yeah.
The Freedom of Information Act allows the public to request government communications, but Meadowcroft reveals they plan to avoid these rules.
Yeah, the goal is, familiarize all the transition team people with these plans.
Yeah.
But you don't actually send them to their work emails, because then,
right.
You could just give the handbooks to everyone. You're like, this is the game plan for the admin.
Yeah.
But if the press knows that that's what you're doing, then they're going to immediately just say, I request all of your emails from Heritage.
Okay.
You know what's weird? A bunch of people in the Donald Trump sphere, I think Lara Trump maybe, I don't remember who, they were using Gmail accounts in the White House. I remember this because I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's super hypocritical after tearing Hillary a new one about her emails. It's all I heard. But her emails, nonstop. That's all they talk about, buttery mails. Anyway, that's probably why they used Gmail accounts, I imagine. Maybe it was completely innocent with Donald Trump. Maybe Donald Trump's whole family is just innocent in this whole thing. Who knows?
Right. I see.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
Meadowcroft offers to set up a meeting with his boss, Russ Vogt.
You could put me in touch with somebody who looks after his diary or whatever.
Yes, we could put you in touch with his schedule. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
his scheduler.
Yeah.
Great.
So just tell me when to do that.
We want to meet the man writing the game plan for Trump's second administration. Vogt believes that in his first term, Trump's agenda was frustrated by what he calls the deep state.
They may explain here, but the deep state is not real, okay? It's not... when you hear the words deep state, you think this underground cabal that pulls strings like puppet masters to blah, 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 blah. That's not real. That doesn't exist. You think the government is that coordinated that they can pull strings like puppet masters? You can't get half of them to agree on one thing. Anyway, when they say deep state, they're talking about the executive branch infrastructure, like the FBI, CIA, hell, all the way down. We'll talk about even regulation agencies like the EPA, the Department of Education, all of it. They're just normal employees commonly hired through a hiring process, and they're not political. They're just doing their job every day. Coming in, do their job, leave. But in Trump's mind, he wants to convince everybody else that it's the deep state. And they're all working together nefariously to take advantage of people and all that stuff. So here's Project 2025's really disturbing plan. This is the part that really bothers me. They have a plan to, quote unquote, replace the deep state, to get Trump appointees, Trump loyalists, into positions of authority all the way down the chain in government office. Just people that are just normally hired, not even political appointees. Like the manager at the DMV, for example. You don't know when that person will come in handy. You want them to stop registering people to vote when they come through? That's illegal, but, stretch the bounds of law a little bit, right? That's not too big of a deal. That's why Trump wants to have everybody, all the way down. And if he had, January 6th would have been irrelevant, because everybody all the way down the chain would have made it work for him. He would have stayed in office. He's trying to destroy the infrastructure that protected our democracy from him, basically. So listen to what they say about the deep state here.
Agenda was frustrated by what he calls the deep state. So Vogt is planning a radical centralization of government power under the president, firing civil servants and ending the independence of agencies like the FBI and DOJ.
This is I don't like going back to Hitler every time, because Trump is not Hitler. I don't believe that. But the environment that existed in Germany in the 1920s and 30s is here in America, for sure. Hitler was insane. His mind was gone. He was ready to take out as many people as he could. And by the end of the war, when he realized he was going to lose, he diverted resources from the front lines, from the war effort, and put it into the death camps because he just really wanted people to die. Not joking. He was nuts. I don't think Trump is nuts like that. I think he's amoral and willing to do whatever it takes to get him ahead. If killing 6 million people gets him ahead. I don't think he's above, or I don't think he's beneath that, or is it above that? I don't think he's unwilling to do that, but that's not necessary, really. He just wants to destroy the political infrastructure of the United States. Simple as that. Anyway, regarding Hitler, this is what Hitler did, centralizing power. In fact, this isn't just what Hitler did. This is what every authoritarian regime necessarily does. They must do this. They must centralize power into like one person. Democracies operate off of checks and balances for everyone's protection. You know, there's complete gridlock in Congress, between Congress, the Supreme Court, and the president. No one can get anything done. But that's better than people doing insane stuff. If it's all centralized in one place, with all of the power being in Trump's hands, or anybody's, hell, Biden's or whatever, Kamala Harris's hands, it's a recipe for absolutely insane behavior. Anyway, keep listening here. So they're saying that they're going to centralize power like a dictatorship.
The deep state. So Vote is planning a radical centralization of government power under the president, firing civil servants and ending the independence of agencies like the FBI and DOJ.
Hitler's event of doing this is called the Night of the Long Knives, but he was actually killing people.
80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies. And we are working doggedly on that, whether it's destroying their agency's notion of independence. They're independent from the president.
Vote has also been preparing documents based on fringe legal theories.
Holy shit, dude, that's crazy, right? That's nuts, man. We're going to take a closer look at some of this stuff in a little while, but this is crazy.
It's also been preparing documents based on fringe legal theories, arguing the president has the power to use the military against protesters.
George Floyd obviously was not about race. It was about destabilizing the Trump administration.
Right. Isn't it fascinating how there's police violence against a minority group in the United States, and these old white straight guys somehow make it about them, right? Using the military against protesters is completely contrary to what America was founded on, the principles on which it was founded. It's contrary to everything this country's ever stood for. Our right to protest is unimpeachable. Threatening to use the military even, not even doing it, but just threatening it, to use the military against protesters creates a chilling effect where people don't want to protest because they think they might get thrown in jail. That happened to me. There are a ton of protests around me. I'm in Manhattan and I could go to them, but I don't want to get locked up and lose the work that I'm doing. So one of us, either me or my wife, stays behind when we go to protests, just in case. So one of us can like run things from here and try to get the other out of jail against ridiculous charges, you know. Chilling effect. Now they're getting the military involved, ready to gun down American citizens. That's crazy.
We put out, for instance, a 50-page paper designed for lawyers to know that the president has, the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with.
Dude, I'd love to get my hands on that document.
Military, and that's something that it's going to be important for him to remember and his lawyers to affirm. But we've given them the case for that.
With loyalists installed in key government agencies and armed with his playbook, Vote believes a radical Christian nationalist agenda can be realized under a second Trump presidency. For example, on abortion.
So I think the president's actually come up with a strategy that works so long as you are giving people like me in the government the ability to block funding for Planned Parenthood, block funding for fetal tissue research. But what I've told people is he had the most pro-life record ever.
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe just by virtue of doing whatever the hell establishment Republicans wanted. But George Bush was actually nuts, like real nuts. Banning stem cell research or banning like funding for it or whatever the hell. I don't remember what he did. That set us back as a world and as a country so much, what Bush did. Oh my God.
Record ever. I've never seen him take it to stand in the way of a pro-life initiative that actually was real politically and with momentum.
Dude, I don't believe that Trump is even anti-abortion, truthfully. I think that he is in favor of whatever gets him elected. He was pro-abortion for years. And really, do you think Donald Trump, of all people, is anti-abortion? You know the dude is paid for abortions, which is fine. But don't, like, come out there and claim that you're anti-abortion. Hurt other people. Didn't Trump say something about he couldn't go to Vietnam because he was, like, participating in orgies or something? I don't even remember now. He absolutely, for sure, most definitely is in favor of abortion in his heart of hearts.
And for Vote, Trump's pick for vice president shows he's serious about pushing this ideological agenda when in power.
So I am very happy with the JD pick. I think it's transformative for sure.
Dude, I did not see it coming.
And he's, think of him as a member version of what we do.
Yeah.
So there's no think tank, no policy organization, no battle plan creator other than us for the worldview that I think Donald Trump has and that JD has.
But as public backlash against these plans builds, the Trump campaign has been scrambling to distance themselves from Project 2025's authors.
It's complete and utter bullshit for any reporter to write that this is the way it is. The president's made it clear these people do not speak for him. They do not speak for the campaign.
But Vote.
Well, they may not speak for him or the campaign, but he's definitely following their lead, if you will.
But Vote tells us that behind the scenes, things are much friendlier. The Trump campaign recently picked him to write the Republicans' policy platform, making him essentially Project 2025's man on the inside.
I think the best example is like the campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas. And
isn't that interesting? Donald Trump denies any affiliation with Project 2025, and here we have the guy that was appointed to work with him talking about it.
Policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick because then they have all these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
But no, the relationship is great.
The head of the Trump transition team has not yet been appointed. But Vote says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
If it's someone like Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all this stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that President, if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him.
You know, this is an intensely well thought out, fully formed out document. Like they said earlier, 920 pages. I wrote a book that was like 300 something pages, and that took me months and months. I mean, it could take people years to write these things if it's just like one person or even two writers working together. It takes so long to do this stuff, and it's 900 something pages. That's nuts. They must have been working on this since the moment that Biden took office, and it's like every policy prescription. Trump has no policy at all. I don't know of any policy the dude talks about. He's all about attacking people, disparaging people, complaining about how he's being treated and all that stuff. It's all about how he doesn't like certain groups of people, basically. But there's no policy. None. These guys are doing it for him.
In whatever position we're at, or I could be at Center for New America, but the relationships will be there. The trust level will be there.
Project 2025's Radical Phase 1 policy book turned into a PR disaster.
The director of Project 2025 has stepped down after facing criticism from both Democrats and the Trump campaign.
I remember that.
But Vote's Phase 2 battle plans, top secret and handed directly to the transition team, remain unburdened by the brand.
And are you going to rebrand that second phase at all?
For what I do,
yeah,
the brand's not important.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
And you're not worried that if it has Project 2025 on, he's going to go
no.
Yeah, it can look as bad as they want, right? Who cares? It's not going to hurt them. They're just going to keep doing really messed up stuff. They don't care about voters' interests or where the country is. They're not affected by whether, banning birth control or abortion or whatever is unpopular to relevant to them. They're just trying to push their agenda on people. And if you don't know their agenda, I mean, they've laid it out already, but let me have like an actual representative, like a member of the House. I think he's the Oklahoma House of Representatives. Explain what their policy is. Yeah, why not? I mean, there are a number of videos on this subject from Dusty Devers, Oklahoma Oklahoma member of the House of Representatives. He's like in the same sphere as the Project 2025 people.
I want to see pornography abolished. I want to see no fault divorce come back to at fault.
Late November 2023, by the way.
In divorce, and even public shaming for those who are at fault in divorce. I want to see...
no fault divorce means you can't get divorced unless you have a good reason to get divorced. You must stay married to this person.
I want to see abortion abolished. These are the kinds of morality and government issues that we need to get back to.
Yeah, I mean, the government shouldn't be legislating morality ever, literally ever. It should only be protecting people's fundamental rights. Their right to free speech, their right to freedom of religion, their right to not incriminate themselves against unreasonable search and seizure, all that stuff. That's it. That's what the federal government should do. He wants to impose his moral beliefs on you by banning porn and stuff. That's nuts. And here is this clip right here. It's only like 5 seconds long, but it's my favorite clip maybe of all time.
When we saw churches closing for long periods, we saw people, with this love your neighbor propaganda.
Love your neighbor propaganda. I eat this up, dude. I love everything about it. It's just so good. Anyway, let's keep listening to this Project 2025 thing.
And you're not going to publish those?
Not going to publish the documents for lawyers that will explain how to do everything, is what he's saying.
No.
They go straight to...
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
Okay.
They go straight to Trump.
Brilliant. It's been an education.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.
Dude looked at the camera. He looked right at the camera just now. Oh my God. He realized at the last moment. He realized. Oh God. What was he thinking in this moment? He knew. It was in this moment that he realized he is f***ed, right?
Thank you very much. You can show stuff out.
Okay.
Wow, man. Anyway, Project 2025 decided to tweet this joke video to show how hyperbolic people are being or whatever. This isn't hyperbole. They have specifically, explicitly stated they want to ban birth control, they want to ban porn, they want to ban abortion, and all kinds of stuff. They want to legislate morality, force you to live the way they want you to live. I mean, full-blown Saudi Arabia stuff. And they tweet this video out as a joke to show how ridiculous the lefties are.
Shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists. You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail. Right.
This is actually funny. It's obviously trying to cover their tracks or whatever, but I can appreciate the humor.
To jail, right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses. You right to jail. You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail. You overcook chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook. You make an appointment with a dentist and you don't show up, believe it or not, jail, right away. We have the best patients in the world because of jail.
That's pretty funny. I can appreciate that, but it's insane. But it's trying to cover up their insanity in other areas. So remember that when you see this stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of running out of time here, but there is another thing I want to talk about. It's the slides in their presentations. So they have these training videos. We're going to watch another soon. If the video hasn't released already, then it will tomorrow. But let's read some of these slides. So at the end of every single training video, like all 23 of them or whatever. By the way, I'm going to be watching the training videos start to finish. If you want to watch them with me, we're going to be talking about it on my Owen Morgan Unfiltered YouTube channel. Wednesday and Thursday mornings, 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We just hang out and watch this stuff. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let me give some context to the training courses. Project 2025 built up a database of tens of thousands of people who are some educated, some not, some involved in politics, some not, just people of all different backgrounds who, above all else, will be loyal to Donald Trump and only Trump, not the Constitution, not the laws, Trump. You'll see what I mean in a minute. They built up this database, and depending on where they are going to plug you into the system on Donald Trump's behalf, they show you different training videos. So at the end of every single one, they had these course recaps. What you're doing, serving as a political appointee, is different than anything you've done before. There is no profit and loss system. You cannot decentralize. You need the details of the operation. Number 2, the whole process depends on presidential relationships and loyalty to the president. What a fascinating thing to say, right? You are there to implement the president's agenda, not to uphold the Constitution. You don't see that anywhere in here. Number 3, everything you do could end up on the front page of the paper. Keep your agenda close. Number 4, know your legal rights. And number 5, keep contacts outside Washington to keep things in perspective. That's insane. Look at some of these other slides that we've got here. They gave people different slides depending on the training video. This one was for their media training video. Your actions in the media. 1, don't let the media dictate your actions. When the media hits you, remind yourself that you're there to make a difference for the country, not to avoid controversy. Number 2, don't expect that a career employee's first loyalty is to you. Number 3, keep your agenda close. Keep in mind that nearly every action you take will eventually become public. Before doing something, think about how it would look on the front page of the Washington Post. Don't share your agenda widely within your department. It will inevitably leak. They're telling people how to avoid accountability. The Washington Post and other legacy media have contacts at every agency. So trust no one, is what they're saying. Check this one out. Identifying successful political appointees. Successful political appointees are willing to take risks and not just go with the flow. Next one. Successful appointees are willing to stand up to the media. And the last one, the best place to find these candidates is in the campaign. The earlier in the campaign, the better. First steps to take as a cabinet secretary. On day 1, you must rescind all delegations of authority to your subordinates. This will ensure no official below you can perform an official agency action without your approval. Oh my God, dude. That's nuts. They're saying centralized power. Everybody should be centralizing power, and you will be loyal to Donald Trump, so he will control every single agency completely. Place political appointees in the proper roles beneath you before day 1. Use the myriad tools at your disposal to clear the way of insubordinate careerists. Reassign them, incentivize them, and as a last resort, fire them. Again, I don't like going back to Hitler, but because, like I said, Trump is not Hitler. He's not as bad as Hitler. He's just amoral rather than being actively immoral. But this is the exact that was set up by extremist regimes at the time in the region. This is what happened right here. You know, Hitler consolidated power really, really quickly, which is necessary to create a dictatorship in the first place. That's the first step and the necessary step. Consolidate power. And it happened so rapidly in Germany. And like in 1933, there was an election. Hitler lost the election, but then he was appointed to to be at the top of government, be the chancellor. He was appointed by Paul von Hindenburg, the guy that won the election. And when did that happen? It was January, I think he was appointed. By April 1st, basically, we saw the first anti-Jewish legislation start to come out heavily. And there was like a boycott of Jewish businesses. On April 7th, a bunch of religious institutions started publishing new rules that basically said you must be loyal to the Nazi Party. And it was all downhill from there. By September, just a few months later, you could not voice opposition or you would die. But in April and May and June, roughly, when all of these people were signing over their support to Hitler, like the Catholic Church and the Evangelical Church and all that stuff, they were not obligated to at all. There's no requirement whatsoever. They did it because they wanted to. Anyway, in 1933, when was the Night of the Long Knives? I forget. Yeah, okay, June 30th, 1934. 1934. That's when Hitler created the political infrastructure that made it so that he could not be opposed. It's impossible to oppose his political ends. because he controls everything all the way up the chain. If one person disagrees and thinks that he's violating the Constitution, which, by the way, Germany had a constitution at the time, very similar to ours. If someone thinks he's violating the Constitution, it doesn't matter because every other person in that department supports him. No questions asked. That's what these people are setting up. I don't think that's hyperbole. No official below you can perform an official agency action without your approval. You need to rescind all delegations of authority to your subordinates. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the other slides. Hang on. Okay, here, orienting new political appointees. Working in the federal government is nothing like working in the private sector. There is no profit and loss system to assess outcomes. You must take time to personally determine what's happening at the bureaucratic levels beneath you. Delegate less, follow up more. Centralize power. The best way to assess what's going on beneath you is to staff every level of the bureaucracy with political appointees. Holy dude, we're talking people all the way from like the Department of Energy, just people like that are working on organizing new types of like energy generation or like overseeing power plants, overseeing like nuclear power plants or whatever. All of them should be political appointees loyal to Trump and only Trump, not the Constitution, Trump. Again, you don't know which person's going to be useful to you. So you have to deck it out, even the manager at the DMV, everybody in their minds. This will ensure that actions can be delegated and that you, as the principal, are well briefed. Here's identifying successful political appointees. Successful appointees are willing to take risks and not just go with the flow. Successful appointees are willing to stand up to the media. The best place to find these candidates is in the campaign. The earlier in the campaign, the better. Implementing the president's agenda at the agency. Cabinet secretaries should report directly to the president. It's imperative for cabinet secretaries to develop a close working relationship with the president. Cabinet secretaries should be loyal to the president and support his or her agenda. Cabinet secretaries should constantly ask themselves, how would the president govern if he were here in charge of my agency? Even the Department of Education, they're creating a de facto cult around Trump, what would Trump do? WWTD at this point, really? What would the president do if he were here in charge of my agency? There's like no room for critical thought or like individual thought. Here, this one is even crazier. This one should be plastered all over everything. Have confidence in your legal authority to act. Become a jailhouse lawyer. Know the law regarding your agency. Study the legal authorities of your position. So, jailhouse lawyer, what they mean by that is, prisoners go to the library and read like law books to try to understand their situation and find the best defense and all that stuff. They're a jailhouse lawyer. They're not legally trained, but they understand the law surrounding their subject of interest. So become a jailhouse lawyer, know the law regarding your agency, study the legal authorities of your position. Always check the law being referenced by a career federal employee, especially if you're being told you can't do something. Always ask questions and get a second opinion. There's no substitute for knowing the law yourself. Have a lawyer on staff who is a political appointee. Why do they want a lawyer on staff who's specifically a political appointee? They didn't say a lawyer who is not on the left. That could include all kinds of people who are just trying to do their jobs, right? They didn't say that. They said somebody who's specifically loyal to Trump, a political appointee. That is nuts. This is part of them creating a deep state. No joke. Trump believes in nothing but Trump. He runs on law and order, yet he's been convicted on 30 or so felonies. All he has is fear and projection. 100%. I've mentioned before, I'm writing this book. I'm calling it right now, The Church in Chains, How Hitler Exploited Faith to Gain Control. And in my book, I talk about the origins of the words left and right. It started in the French Revolution, and they were people that are physically to the left and to the right of the president at the time, I think is what it was. And the right described the two in a really interesting way. This is how the right described themselves. Defenders of religion and the throne. Friends of order and truth. Sound familiar? Law and order, religious people, all good Frenchmen who love their country, their religion, and the happiness of their brothers. Patriots. And here's how they described the left. Principal enemies of the church and of the monarchy. Jews, Protestants, deists. Academics of the current philosophies. Yeah, he can run on Law and Order all he wants, but it's just like an age-old trick. He's not actually in favor of law and order. Never was. They're constantly complaining about the deep state. The deep state, the deep state, ugh! And there's zero evidence for it. And you know what? There should be. Some big coordinated cabal working behind the scenes like this. It doesn't exist. And you know how I know? What was it, 2006? The U.S. government was doing some real bad stuff. It was need to know all the way down. You couldn't talk about this stuff unless you were in a secure bunker with like all audio recording devices turned in at the door and stuff. Top secret. They were torturing people in the Middle East. And if that got out, they would face the wrath of the International Criminal Court and all kinds of other groups, other like nonprofits and all kinds of stuff. And also they'd lose the goodwill of the other countries on the planet. And that's exactly what happened. Somebody leaked it. That's what happens in government. If there's something to leak, it will be leaked. I mean, just look at all the information that was leaked about Project 2025. We have all kinds of information on this now, after like all these years. Stuff has come out over the years. If it's interesting, it will be leaked. There is no evidence of a deep state, but there is evidence that the Republican Party is trying to create a deep state now.